Welcome back to another episode of Manic Monday. I'm gonna go ahead and dive into the next area of my stormy relationships. I started with my first love, which I explained how that went in the first episode. Um, so I'm gonna move on to the next relationship, which happened directly after moving during that tidbit I shared about my first love. So by the time I was a sophomore in high school, I was pretty much like starting fresh. So there was no more boyfriend because everything with my first love didn't work out. And then we also ended up moving. So if there was any guys at my high school that were interested, or in my middle school that were interested, that I was transitioning into high school with, they had to dead that shit because I was leaving. So it's crazy. I only said that because years later, like years after me graduating high school in general, I started to get like messages from guys that I went to high school with at my first high school that were like, "Oh, I was interested, but I didn't know how to approach you," like things like that. So that's crazy. But anyways, I move. We're starting over. I got to get new friends. I got to, meet new guys. And not that I was like so much looking for it, because I'm never actively looking for relationships all the time. Like some of these relationships started because I was looking, but some of them started because it just happened. Like I met these people, we hit it off for one reason or another, and we decided to go further. So, anyways, sophomore year, we come to the new school, and there's this guy in my social studies class. I'm instantly like, oh my god, what would it be like to date this person? And I'm told that this is a part of BPD too, but I'm not too sure. But it's like we romanticize instantly either the friendship that we're beginning with a person or the relationship that we're beginning with a person. So before even speaking to him, I'm already like going through scenarios of us like dating, leading to a relationship. He meets the family, we graduate high school, like that type of stuff. My mind works that fast. So it turns out he has a seat in front of my desk. Now I'm extra excited. We're super close. We're gonna end up speaking eventually. So I'm thinking like once he passes one of these papers, I'm just gonna like ask him some questions so I can get to know him a little better. Turns out I knew this guy already. Like as kids, his mom knew my mom. So we have like baby pictures together. So, I mean, at first I had to get to know him obviously to find that out, but um, that was like a helpful bump for me as far as like being interested in him and trying to date him, because it's like, well, our families know each other already. So all we have to do is get to know each other. If things go great, then let's see what happens from there. So we moved around the fall. We got to the new school around September. It was like right when school began. So in the middle of the beginning of the school year, we moved. So by December, January, we were talking like actively, like exchanging text messages on a daily basis. We were like, working towards being in a relationship. But he lived in a different city, but still came to the same school. So it was like we couldn't see each other as much as I would have liked. And then he was older. So, like, I'm a sophomore, he's a senior, he's about to graduate. So he's on his way out the door. So I'm not sure how to captivate and keep his interest at this time because I'm still a virgin. So the things that he's interested in or probably used to, I don't offer. So a lot of our flirtation was like through text, over the phone, and our first date wasn't until like around Valentine's Day, because my family wanted to make sure that he was a solid guy, and I was nervous. I was nervous about the meeting him because he was older, and my parents were protective in a sense where like they didn't play about age gaps. Like 2 or 3 years is okay, but 3, 4, 5, I don't know. That's how they felt. So they just wanted to make sure that he wasn't dating me for like any ulterior motives and things like that. They wanted to observe how he was, you know, treating me without getting those things. So he meets my brother, and it turns out him and my brother also have a class together, so they're starting to get real tight. Now he's allowed over to the house. Valentine's Day comes around, he's invited to the Valentine's Day function that we're having at the church. So this is like our official first date, and my parents okayed it, so it's going to be a supervised date, the first half at least. So the first half is the Valentine's Day party at the church. Everything there goes well. They allow us to go to the movies, which is the second half that he had planned. So with the movie date, I believe my big brother had to come. But we ended up making it like a double date. Like my brother ended up going with one of the girls we had just met at the new school, and I ended up going with this guy. So it was really fun. Like we went into the movies, my brother and the girl found their corner, and me and him kind of like went off into our section of the movie theater, so it could be like an actual date for both parties, but my brother could still keep an eye on me. So everything was like smooth. He was really respectful. He was nice. He was sweet. And a lot of our text messages were like intense. Like he got to know me, of course, because this is over the course of months. I told you I met him in September. This is like February at this point. So he knows me fairly well, and he's also been to the house. And so now our messages are evolving into like marriage and possibly being together in the future. And like it went from, hey, good morning, how you doing, what you doing now, to like serious conversation. Like we are talking about everything, like what it would be like if we were to make it work after high school and settle down and get married and have kids, what that would, what that would look like for him, what type of goals he had after high school, what type of goals I had, would they align? We were having deep conversations, and I'm like 15 going on 16 at this time because I'm a sophomore. My birthday is in April. So I'm starting to grow older, and I'm starting to see like, I'm paying closer attention to the women in my life and the females around me and the things that they're accomplishing with their significant others and their families. And I'm starting to want this at 16. I know it's crazy, but I was just in the mindset of like, I was just ready to settle down, mainly because of I knew like I couldn't do anything sexually due to me like being abstinent. And then I also knew like I was serious about him. Like I never felt that way about a guy since my first love. So I kind of felt like this was like a one in a million thing, because there were guys in between that tried to talk to me and get my time and date me, but I just wasn't interested. I was looking for that feeling, and he gave me that feeling. So I'm thinking like I have to stick with this. You know what I'm saying? This has to be my husband. So now I'm like thinking like, would it be bad if I got married to him so young? You know what I'm saying? We already know each other, our families and things like that. So now my mind is way off the deep end, and I'm like entertaining everything that we're talking about, marriage and things like that at this age. And then, of course, the question comes. We began to talk about the deflowering thing, and he's basically like trying to see how serious I am about it, but like I didn't realize it at the time. He's asking me questions like, so, what made you become abstinent? How long do you think you could stick to it? Things like that, but they weren't like pushy questions. He was asking, of course, to see would I ever bend or fold for him, which is natural. Like we were two teenagers with all these hormones and things like that. So, of course, he probably was thinking like this would be a dope opportunity to get my rocks off. But all of that came to a very, very sudden end. Him and my brother ended up becoming really close friends. Like they became hanging out all the time. They were inseparable. So that halted him. He sat me down and he gave me this speech about how he's just not ready. Although he feels all these strong feelings for me, he still swimming in the water looking for fishes. Um, he didn't want to hurt me because he knew that at this time he wasn't able to be faithful or give me what it is that I need out of the relationship. He knew that he wasn't going to be patient enough to wait for me to come up off my virginity. Like, he was honest about everything. But he was like, I still want to be cool with you, because I'm cool with your brother and our families, XYZ. I was pissed at first, I'm going to be honest. So I just was like, fuck you. And if you're not interested because of your friends with my brother now, whatever, he's cool. Not understanding that he was telling me that he just wasn't ready. So I started dating this other guy that we were going to school with. It was the date, maybe like a week or so passed. He had to talk with me, and then like winter ball came. So it was all within like that same month and a half. So winter ball comes, I now have a new boyfriend, or almost, because we were talking at this time. I wasn't his girlfriend yet. And then this guy comes back around. And he's like, I feel bad about how things ended. I want to take you to the dance if you'll allow me, blah, 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 blah. And I was so hurt by him not, like, I felt like it was a pity invitation date. And I was like, fuck that. I don't want that. And then that's when my my boyfriend expressed interest in me, asked me to the dance. So the dance comes, and I can't remember if it's because he couldn't get a ride or if he didn't have anything to wear, but my boyfriend couldn't come. So this guy finds me during the dance. He compliments my outfit. He asks for a dance. And I'm just like, why is he playing with my emotions? Like, he knows how I feel about him. And he already expressed that we're not going to go any further. So I don't know. Maybe he just didn't want me to feel left out or feel bad. So he danced with me. But after that night, I started dating my boyfriend officially. Uh, Part of it was me being actually interested, and the other half was just to show him, like, I don't care that you don't want me. So me and the new boyfriend, our relationship lasts about 2 weeks, maybe a month, before the school ended up kicking him out. It turns out he lived outside of the required bounds for enrollment. So he had to move to a different school. That ends the relationship. We kept in contact, but it was very, very touchy. He wasn't always or by a phone or able to use a phone. So that kind of deaded our relationship. And then, somewhere in there was a girl that I had my eye on. I thought she was interested in him, and I thought they had something going on during our relationship. So it was just that part, I just knew I had to give him up. So then I started dating. Because mulling over him every day is not going to work. And I need to show him, like, I don't care if you rejected me, I can still pull. As if that was the problem. Like, I just wasn't getting it, you know what I mean? So there's like spats of me and like my first love trying to go back and forth. And eventually we was like, this is just, we got to stop this because it's not going to work. So that's how our friendship began. And we began calling each other and talking about, people we were seeing. That's how that relationship began. And then I'm thinking, like, okay, maybe I'm not over him if I'm trying so hard to date these people to get them out of my head. So I'm thinking, like, I can still try. I'm still flirting with him when he's around. I'm still trying to throw hints at him, and he's just like stonewalling me, not trying to hear it, purposely not picking up my cues, just like really giving me the cold shoulder. Then he starts calling me sis. So now I'm really like, okay, sir, no, don't do that, because we were just kissing in February. But so, I'm dating just like random people, and a lot of these relationships were cyber. So I was too scared to open myself up again to somebody that was actually within reach. So I began like talking to people from the town that I moved from over the internet. We're exchanging pictures, they're getting to know me. Not like crazy pictures or anything like that. Because, like I said, I was still a virgin, and I was very much a prude. Like, I know some virgins are kind of more open to their sexuality, but I was the type of virgin that was like we can kiss, that's cool, because obviously I crossed that boundary already, but you're not getting any nudes. I'm not talking dirty over the phone for you. Very much a prude, okay? I did not play that shit. Like, we have to have a real conversation every time we talk. We got to be talking about something, and it's not going to be sex. I missed that part of me, by the way. Oh my god. So anyways, that's how I was. And a lot of guys my age weren't interested in that. So I got picked up to talk to a lot, and then they would like drop me, ghost me or whatever you want to call it. Or they, I'd log in and they're in a relationship. That happened a few times. So I was never able to really get serious with anybody else. So I just started flirting with him again, and I was just like, whatever happens, happens. And then another dance comes around. This is now the beginning of my junior year. Um, and he's now graduated, but he's still hanging around the house because he's still friends with my brother. Um, before, let me back up a little bit actually, because the dance is important because this is where I meet the next boyfriend, who actually turns out to be a stormy relationship. That summer, he's at the house with my brother. And like I said, I was still throwing myself at him very much, and I'm still flirting with him because I wanted him. Like, what the fuck you mean you don't want me because you're friends with my brother? So there's a festival that goes on in this town every year, and everybody goes to ride the rides, get the popcorn, etc. He spends the night. He wakes me up and asks me if he can give me oral. Yeah. So I'm like vexed because in church they teach you like sex is sex. So that includes oral, anal, whatever the fuck. It's sex to, the Bible. So I'm teetering back and forth like we should, no we shouldn't, we should, no we shouldn't. So I finally let him, and I was like complex after it happened because I didn't know if I, did it because I was just trying to win him over and I wanted him to take me serious and actually give me a chance, or if I was just like sacrificing a piece of myself out of fear. Like, I don't know what made me do it. Um, but I liked it. And the only thing I didn't like was that I was bit. So I am explaining this to my friend, and she's like, whoa, you don't think it's crazy that he woke you up in the middle of the night to do this, this, and this, but he won't be your boyfriend? And I was like, you know what, you're right. So my interest for him died after that. I was like, I'm gonna fall back because now I'm at the point where I'm sacrificing pieces of myself and he's still treating me the same way. Like, I'm just a homie. So my ex-boyfriend that had to get moved because he was out of bounds, he's like trying to make his way back in too. But I'm like, no, I'm gonna leave you where you at. Because there was also this girl at our school that used to talk about him all the time. And I'm just like, he's my boyfriend. Why is he in your mouth all the time? And they were like hang out and they would do things. And she was an older woman or older, she was like a senior. He was like a freshman. And I was just like, I didn't trust that. And I ended up reaching out to her like, you need to take your man because he's in my inbox trying to date me, and I know y'all had something going on. So now she looking at me crazy like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm about to graduate high school. He is a freshman. We might joke and play around in the hallways and like, you know, I do friend stuff for him, but we're not together. I just thought it was weird how close they were to each other, and I didn't trust it. So, that prompted me to, in a way, bully this girl because she probably wasn't even thinking about his ass. And I was like in her inbox, like, whatever, I don't believe you. Like, literally, like, as if she had something to prove to me. You know what I'm saying? So, I just couldn't do that. And, anyways, he went to a different school. It was too far. So homecoming comes around, and there's a group home that just opened up not too far from the school. And there's guys that came to the school from the group home. At homecoming, one of the guys from the group home, works up the nerve to ask me for my number. And he starts hitting on me. We hit it off. what say you, and by the end of the dance, we're inseparable. We have each other's numbers. He goes his way, I go my way, and the conversation just never stops. We start texting, we start calling. About a month later, let's see, homecoming was like in like September, October. I was his girlfriend by November. Yeah, I remember because when Thanksgiving came around, I brought him over to the house. I was talking to the family about him, and they had never met him. That relationship is what is going to start the next episode, because I really want to take the time to dive into it, unpack it, and like, but this is going to conclude episode 5 of the stormy relationship section. This guy, his story is actually blended into my future stories as well. So I can't even say like that was the end of us, because it wasn't. Um, I told you that what we did happened at the beginning of my junior year. I was 16. And by the winter, I just wasn't taking his cues, because, he was playing this game. Like, he was interested, then he would disappear. He'd act like he was interested, and he would disappear. So when winter time came around, before I closed the episode out, um, it was like around Christmas time. He was spending the night more often now. It's not just after special events. Now he's like coming over every weekend to be with my brother. He was his best friend. So right after Christmas, sometime around Christmas, I can't remember exactly when, we were on Christmas break, and he took my virginity. So this was before I met the guy at the dance. So it couldn't have been homecoming unless it was homecoming for my senior year. I can't remember which dance it was, but the dance that I met my next boyfriend at happened after I lost my virginity. So that winter break, he took my virginity. He was telling me that this was something that he had to do because we were meant for each other. It was going to happen anyway. I was going to marry him when I graduated, so why wait? Like, we were really like, I'm convinced that this is, I don't know anything. I'm very naive at this age. So I'm just like feeding into it. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. All you want to do is have sex with me, and we're going to do that eventually. Yeah, I mean, sure. Let's go ahead. And so now I'm thinking like he must have a ring. Either way, it was just poor decision making on my part, because I had saved this thing that was precious to me for so long. And I'm thinking I'm giving it to somebody that is in love with me, and I'm in love with them, and they have future plans for me for real. And it was not that, obviously. So I gave him the virginity under the false hope that we would end up together seriously in a serious relationship, and I could stop looking for a husband. I could stop dating. I could stop worrying about being in a relationship so much, and I could finally be with someone that I love. It was a one-way street. I was the only one that was like in love. So after he takes my virginity, he disappears for a month. No contact with me at all. He's still hanging out with my brother. He's still cool with him, but he completely ghosted me and walled me out. Like, I didn't hear from him at all. He comes back to school after winter break, and he has a whole girlfriend, not a half one. He wasn't just talking to somebody. He came back in a full-blown relationship. Like, I remember he took my virginity, winter break ended. I saw him at school. He was acting weird. My brother hangs out with him after school one day, like right after winter break, and there's a girl in the car. And I'm like, who's that? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm asking my siblings and everybody that's around the house, like, who's in Tony's, who's in my brother's car? And they're like, oh yeah, that's what's his face's girlfriend. Yes. So that didn't help in my future decision making as far as like relationships and men go, because now I'm stripped of something that made me feel precious and rare. So now I'm just like every other girl out here. My self-esteem took a huge hit. Not saying that men are trash, but that's just who I was that's how I was thinking, and I was thinking that that's what I was picking was garbage, and that's why I was continuing to get treated like garbage, because maybe that's what I was, and that's what I was thinking after that happened. So he sat me down once he, excuse me, y'all, once he realized my attitude towards him had changed. He sat me down and he had a conversation with me like, oh, I just did that because like somebody had to do it, it had to be done. You're 16 and it's time for you to. So we argued about that all night, and we finally just came to the conclusion that we're just gonna have to be cool and nothing extra from now on, because I'm not gonna do the back and forth. And we weren't seeing eye to eye on why he took the virginity from me and disappeared. So we just played it off. I thought it was bad. I thought maybe all I was worth was like being used. I thought that was like my purpose, because I'm meeting all these trash men and I'm giving them all of me, and they're just taking it and using it, or they'll leave me, or so I went through a really dark phase. Once I lost my virginity, if I was interested in a guy and you gave me the time of day to talk, you were most likely going to get some. It became that bad. Like I was just like, oh, like I wasn't catching body count. Like, slow down. But I was having a lot of promiscuous sex. Sex that could give me STDs, sex with guys that I wasn't even interested in. This guy is still hanging around my brother. This guy is still coming over the house. How am I supposed to bring over a new boyfriend when the guy who took my virginity is lingering everywhere? Everywhere in my existence. Like, that was so hard for me. But I'll break down our relationship in the next episode. And like I said, my story with this guy doesn't end here. So you will be hearing about him more. I'm going to continue talking about the stormy relationships I experienced. And I'm going to throw a little stuff in there too, because I've been meeting with my therapist in the background, and I feel like we're making a lot of progress. So I want to talk about that too before I dive into the next set of relationships that I fucked up or that were fucked up. So, yeah, fifth grade, that's around the time that I met my first love. It was also around the time that I had one of my very first best friends. So, about fourth or fifth grade, I met this girl. We were super close. Her dad ended up knowing my grandmother because he does like patio work. I'm just like shocked that she even stayed my friend, because like now we're cool, but not as cool as we could be. Had I knew how to properly manage and maintain my relationships. So I don't know. But then I also wonder, like, do I pick my friends like I pick my guys? Do I go out and pick the worst possible people to be friends with in hopes that I can change them, or in hopes that they will do different by me? And do I go out there and choose guys the same way? Like, choose the worst ones, hoping I can play doctor or nurse, or just like hoping they'll accept me because they're fucked up too? Like, I don't know. But I'm trying to investigate all of this. Thank y'all for tuning in. Bye.